Now, the actor Steve Coogan has joined protesters, including fellow celebrities Lee Mack and, of course, Fergal Sharkey, in a very high-profile fight to stop sewage being dumped into Lake Windermere in the Lake District by the local water company United Utilities.
United Utilities have been accused of letting nearly 9,000 hours' worth of untreated sewage flow into the lake. They've also recorded more sewage spills overall than anyone else, with more than 97,000 spills last year. And we're joined now by Steve Coogan from the protest outside the United Utilities Information Centre in Windermere, and Chris Matthews, the head of regional engagement for United Utilities, is down beside the lake. Steve, let's come to you first. Don't you think people watching this programme will be shocked to find out that sewage is going into Lake Windermere on this scale every year?
Yes, I think they will be shocked. I mean, United Utilities have a big PR machine and they put nice fancy offices up like this and say we're working together with the people of Windermere. But it's all a smokescreen to distract attention from what they've been doing over the last 30 years, which is putting treated and untreated sewage into Lake Windermere to such an extent that there are toxic levels of algae there. There are algae blooms and some that show the nitrate levels are like through the roof. And they've been doing this year on year. They're doing it legally, and we have evidence that they've been illegally putting sewage into the lake. They've been paying out record dividends to shareholders. There's no excuse for this. We're telling them to stop putting sewage in the lake and take out what they've put in. It is possible. Lake Annecy in France was an example of a lake that was absolutely filthy, and they managed to clean it up. So it is possible. But and they've said that they would pass the bill for that clean-up operation onto the bill payers. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. They should take the money from the huge profits they've made and just deny their shareholders a dividend for a couple of years, put that money into the infrastructure to clean up the lake. They won't do that, of course, because they're not bound to do that. And of course, they have a monopoly, too. There's no competition here. The customer can't go anywhere else, so they've got them over a barrel. So either they need to do it themselves, which I doubt they will, because they're priorities to the shareholders, or the government needs to act, or whichever the next government is, and put forward concrete proposals. The shadow environment spokesman, Reid, has been pretty ineffectual, talking about capping bonuses. It's tickling at the problem. It needs to be dealt with once and for all.
Steve, could you just explain this to us? Because my in-laws have a caravan on Windermere. Our kids have been swimming in the lake for 20 years. I never knew that the utilities, like United Utilities, are legally allowed to put sewage into the water into the lake. I mean, it's one thing for them to be doing it covertly, but legally, how come they're allowed to do this?
It was to do with what was manageable, seen as manageable at the time. You know, when the rain reaches a certain water table, then they're allowed to put in they're allowed to put in sewage, basically. All the sort of privatised utility companies are allowed to do that. And what makes it more obscene is that they talk about that, and they know they're allowed to do this, and it's almost like the business model is predicated. The business model, which allows these record dividends to shareholders, is predicated on the ability to put sewage in a lake and not do anything about it, because to sort that problem out would require huge investment that they're not prepared to put into it. And over the last 30 years, when you interview or speak to the spokesperson of United Utilities, who's a perfectly nice man, being paid a salary to trot out the company line, nevertheless, which will be that they put 70 million in last year, they're putting a further 40 million in. This is chicken feed. Over the last 30 years, £12 billion has been paid out in dividends to shareholders since privatisation.
Well,
last 30 years, 12 billion. So talking about chucking a few million here and there is chicken feed, and it's just PR spin. It's all greenwashing. They chuck a bit of money, they give a grant over here, a grant over there. It's all to stop people looking at the fundamental problem, which is they are the biggest polluters in this country, the biggest water utility company that pollute British waterways. The lakes are there for everyone. Everyone in Britain, people who can't afford holidays abroad should be able to use the lake for recreation, and they're not. And it's threatening that's something which is a right for ordinary people.
Well,
why? To pay a few people, non-domiciles, who've never put their foot in this country, to profit from that malfeasance.
Let's, as you suggest, Steve, let's speak to the person who is there this morning at the beautiful Lake Windermere, the man as Steve Coogan says, paid a salary to speak out on behalf of this company under fire this morning, United Utilities. Chris Matthews, how can you defend this appalling situation? This Environment Agency data, since 2020, your company has dumped more than 27,000 hours worth of untreated sewage finding its way into Windermere. I mean, it turns the stomach. Why are you doing it?
Well, good morning. And we share the concerns that Steve has expressed there and many other people about the overflow operations and the impact on local watercourses.
Yeah, but you're in
We're
charge.
already investing to tackle this problem. We are, and we're investing to tackle this problem here at Windermere. We've spent £75 million on our wastewater treatment to halve the amount of phosphorus that goes into the lake. The 4 bathing waters at Windermere all have an excellent status, and we're going to be investing a further £41 million to reduce overflow operation by half. We are taking this problem extremely seriously. It's part of a huge investment programme of over £3 billion that we're proposing for across the North West to tackle 400 overflows in the next 5 years.
OK, can I ask...
spills will come down by 60%.
Chris, can I ask, what was the company's net profit last year?
So when it comes to profits, we reinvest our profits into our infrastructure.
Okay, the question was,
we invest three times what we pay to our investors.
So what was your net profit last year?
So around about £300 million.
And what did you return to shareholders?
So the way that it works, as I say, is that we pay shareholders. We invest 3 times what we give out
what
to
did you return
shareholders.
To shareholders?
And I think what's important to explain is that actually what we do need from our shareholders is the money up front to be able to invest in the assets so we can solve the problem. Now that's what people want us to do.
Yeah, no, what the question was what dividend do shareholders get from United Utilities? Because it is a privatised monopoly business. What did shareholders get? Because the figure I've got here, you can confirm if this is true or not, is £452 million. In dividends.
Well, the figure that I can share with you, that is, over the last 30 years, we've invested some £22 billion.
Is that, Chris, is that figure correct? That you
investors
returned...
have had around £7 billion.
Is that figure correct, that you returned £452 million to shareholders in the last year?
It varies year to year, so in the round, over the last 30 years, as I say.
Correct?
So it varies year to year.
OK, because I think
what I'm saying is that over 30 years...
Yeah, I didn't ask over 30 years. I asked whether £452 million given in dividends to shareholders last year, in a year where your company spilled 9,000 hours of untreated sewage into England's largest lake, will come as a bit of a shock to people, because they'll be asking, why don't you not pay those dividends to shareholders and simply clean up the lake?
So as I've been trying to explain, the way that it works is that we need the money up front to be able to make the improvements to clean up the rivers and lakes that people want to see. So the way it works in our industry, it's a bit like a mortgage with a house. If you want to move into your house straight away, you need the money up front to be able to do that, and you repay that over a period of time. It's exactly the same way it works for our system, that we get the money from our investors. They then get a return for giving us that money up front. That's about 3 or 4%, which is quite similar to what you get in your high street bank or building society. And what it means by having a system that works that way is we can invest now to reduce the impact of storm overflow operation and deliver the benefits that people want to see.
Chris, can I ask you a question? We've seen the numbers for the sewage flows into the water of Windermere in the last 2 or 3 years. In the previous 2 or 3 years, was the sewage flow into Windermere lower or higher? I mean, has it gone up?
So the amount of water that flows into Windermere depends on rainfall. Our system is typically only 15% full when it's dry.
But I was asking you, have the sewage flows into Windermere...
Rainfall.
But have the sewage flows into Windermere gone up in recent years or gone down?
Well, that depends on the level of rainfall.
So
in years when the rainfall is higher...
I'm just asking you a factual question. In the last 3 years, have the sewage flows gone up or down?
They've done both because of the level of rainfall that we receive each year. The system is designed that when there's excess rainfall, that rain needs to go somewhere. It can either go back into homes and give back businesses and gardens or go into the watercourse.
I'm asking you whether, over the last 3 years, in total, the sewage flows have been bigger or smaller than before.
So, and I've answered that question, which is, depending on the amount of rainfall that falls each year, those flows will go
Chris.
up or down.
No, it's a yes or no answer. In the last 3 years, have they gone up compared to the previous 3 years?
So between 2020 and 2021 and 22, they went down, and between 2022 and 2023, they went up.
But how
and
about
that's
in the
because
previous 3
rainfall
years?
patterns have changed.
But how about before? Because
So
the point
prior
is,
to 2020...
to be honest, you are doing really well at not answering my question. Let me explain this to you. It's not good enough to say we're going to invest now. The question is whether your failure to invest 5 and 10 years ago has caused the problem now. So did you do enough investing 5 and 10 years ago, or are we reaping the consequences of underinvestment by United Utilities?
Yeah, so what we are facing now are new requirements to invest in our network to reduce spills to a level that they've not been reduced before. They were set in the Environment Act of 2021 and the government storm overflow plan. So we have been investing in the past to meet targets to improve wastewater treatment, and we're now facing new targets to reduce the frequency which storm overflows operate.
So the reason why there's sewage flows now is because you didn't invest enough in the past. You've just answered that, which I think is actually Steve's accusation. So it looks like you both agree. You didn't invest enough in the past. That's causing the problem now.
No, what I'm saying is that in the past, the system is designed in a certain way to operate, which is when we get this extra rainfall, that rain needs to go somewhere. We don't want to see it in homes and gardens, so it discharges into watercourses. People have said they want that design to change. It's been around for over 100 years. We completely agree that that design needs to change, and that's what we're now investing to do. And we've got an overall programme going out to 2050 that's some £19 billion in scale and size.
And can I just finish by asking, the average household bill for a United Utilities customer for 2022-23 was £422. What is it going to be for 24-25?
So bills will be increasing to help fund the programme that we've got ahead of us. It's going to be about £25 a year that bills will go up, about £2 a month, to help fund what is a £14 billion plan.
OK. Bills going up for customers. OK. Chris Matthews, thank you very much indeed.